Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. Two easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got composer, musician, Alec Puro. So welcome, Alec.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm pretty excited to talk with you because I think what you do is really interesting. We've here at the podcast, we've had to go through some licensing issues with music
Oh
and
yeah,
different things, and hopefully we can talk a little bit about that. But let's
definitely.
start this way, Alec. Tell us a little bit about how you got into music. Why you wanted to get into music, and
Sure.
what it is you do now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of I'll try to keep it brief, but
Well, you don't have to. Take as long as you want.
yeah, no. I started playing music when I was about 10, playing piano, and then later on started playing the drums, and at that point in my, early adolescence, all I wanted to do was be in bands and, you know, just be a rock star basically
That's right.
at that young age. But I from there kind of like really got into the drums in terms of like live performance and studio sessions and stuff, and ended up going to school at this place called Cal Arts
Yeah.
out in Valencia, and basically I guess like late teens really started doing a lot of like studio sessions, playing the drums, with people like, Jackson Brown or Cher or whomever I was in.
How did you get into the studio sessions at that point? Because you're still pretty young, inexperienced.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I guess it was like late teens, early 20s. I mean, I was in so many different bands,
Yeah.
and this friend of mine worked at this commercial house in Venice, California called Elias Arts, and
Yeah.
they were basically composing the music for every commercial you could think of, because back then it was just the heyday for that. And I got a shot there, and they let me like play drums on a commercial, and then that turned into like almost a like daily thing, which was
Yeah.
amazing. And I just, you would like listen to it once and then play it, and it was just really kind of honed me in. But
Do you typically play by ear?
well, not now as much, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more of an ear person than like a sight reader. It's like I
Yeah.
can, fumble my way through, but at that point, I was in bands. I was in, Robbie Krieger from The Doors. I was his drummer for a while, and I had a band called Deadsy,
Oh
and
yeah,
we,
yeah. I'm a big
yeah.
fan of Deadsy.
Oh, nice.
If I remember right, you did some touring with Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah. The first Family Values tour, or the second Family
Yeah.
Values tour was like Stone Temple Pilots, Linkin Park, Static X, Stained, and us.
Those minor bands.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, so basically this all built up to that. Like I was in the band, I was in college, had sort of switched, I had started writing music and
Yeah.
wanting to learn more about composing friends' short films, and, licensing a piece of music here and there, and really was like, oh, this is what I want to do if like the band thing doesn't work out. And the band ended up getting signed, and I was 2 years into college. I was like, bye-bye. This is what I've been working towards. And basically my 20s were spent, you know, in the band, but also composing like from the
Yeah.
bus or whatnot. But it was insane. We made a couple records, we got signed by DreamWorks, and we got to tour, like you said, with all these huge bands and like
Yeah.
play arenas, and it was a really, really fun time. But it also made me realize that like, life on the road and that sort of lifestyle, at least for me, was amazing in my 20s.
Right.
Like I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, there was zero responsibility. Um, and oh, are you frozen? Or
I'm
is that
still
me?
yeah, your
Uh-oh.
screen's a little frozen, but the sound's still coming through. Can you hear me?
Michael, you there?
Here, I'll pause it. Okay, so we froze up for just a minute. You were going through touring with Deadsy and kind of how that came about. You'd left college. So let's start from there.
All right, all right. So yeah, got a record deal, left college, had this amazing experience throughout my 20s, touring, getting to open up for all these big bands like you mentioned, Stone Temple Pilots, Deftones, Korn. It was crazy, but I did realize that, for me personally, that kind of lifestyle and touring was so fun in my 20s because I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, there was like zero responsibility. And so I really kind of like lived it to its fullest, which was awesome. But like I said, sort of along the way, I had a little, recording rig on the bus and I was scoring friends' short films, licensing some music, and that kind of started to really kind of pick up some steam.
Yeah.
And just after our second record, I had the opportunity to score a buddy of mine his first feature film, and it was the first time I got to like really score a film. It was called The Good Night, and it was with Penelope Cruz, Danny DeVito, Martin Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow. It was really awesome, and
That was a good movie.
I got to do like a full orchestra for the first time,
Wow.
and it got into Sundance. It was like a whole thing, and so going through that whole experience, I was like, oh my God, I only want to score films. I don't want to do, reality shows, anything else, just movies. This is so amazing. And cut to, 6 months later, I'm unemployed, essentially, trying to like figure out how to pay my rent. And I was like, okay, so I know I want to be a composer, but like, how do I do
Right.
this? How do I kind of 50-50 it? So I am composing music for maybe jobs I'm not like 1,000% passionate about, but they're keeping the lights
Yeah,
on.
yeah, it's paying the rent.
Yeah, between like the things that I'm just put everything into. So I slowly started kind of like cataloging my music. When you submit for a show or you write for a pilot or something and you don't get it, you keep your music. So that started to kind of like build. I sort of partnered with a friend of mine as well to kind of like amass more music because we realized that with unscripted shows, they just need tons of music to license, or TV shows, or trailers, or whatever it was. Like you were mostly licensing existing music, and when you put a piece of music in a TV show or a film or whatnot, and it's on, it kicks off a royalty. So the more
Right.
music you have out there working for you, the
Yeah,
more it,
better off you are. Yeah.
yeah. And so
Well,
that,
and I get
yeah,
why I get the switch. I not that it's apples to apples, but I put myself through college. I owned a couple comic book stores. Best job I've ever had.
yeah,
Absolutely loved it. But it was just me. All I had to
yeah,
do was support myself, and that was great.
yeah,
Once I got married, started raising a family, trying to live on comic book store salary, not that easy.
yeah,
And I had to do
totally.
other stuff. So I
Yeah.
totally get the, kind of transitioning because it's not as easy to be entirely focused on your own stuff when you've got other people counting on you.
No, for sure. And I think it's just like, the normal evolution. I'm always somebody that like I really try to look forward rather than behind in terms of being like, oh God, I wish it was like it used to be, or it's really because the world's just changing at such a ridiculously rapid rate at this point. And it's like I just really think that just any business is evolving, and the way things were at a certain point, it never goes backwards, it always goes forwards. And so that's kind of why, for me, cataloging my music and whatever over the years became this whole other company. Now it's called Gramoscope Music, and we're basically a full service music production company where we the catalog's grown to about 70,000 pieces of music, and we license it. We have blanket deals with all the major networks and
And I was
production
looking
companies.
at
And
you've
yeah,
done all the shows.
there was a lot. I mean, we're in the mix, obviously with others for tons of, shows, podcasts, trailers, video games. It kind of runs the
How
gamut.
does that how do you get started with that? Is there like a massive catalog somewhere that you're just feeding your music into, and if they choose it, great? Or
Um,
do you negotiate those deals, you know?
yeah, I mean, all the deals are different, but we've amassed our own music that we own, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, outright. And excuse me. And we do deals with different, there's different network deals, and you'll add your catalog to those networks or those production companies, so all their editors have access to that
Right.
music. And it's been licensed, it's okay to use, there's no issues on their end. They know that it's like safe, and they
Do you
basically
get paid that way, like just for giving them access to the music, or do you have to
sometimes, I mean,
sell it?
they're all different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's purely back end, sometimes it's upfront, sometimes we get hired to specifically score shows or create
Yeah.
catalogs for specific shows. It kind of goes every which way. Uh-oh, I think we're frozen again. Oh no. Oh, there
No,
you
there we
are.
are. We're good.
So it goes every which way. And I mean, honestly, yeah, it's just kind of grown through organically through
Yeah.
relationships and you
I
know.
thought it's so interesting because most of us spend so much time watching TV and movies, and you never really think about the music. Even though there's been certain shows that I've become fans of the people writing the music just from hearing it on the shows, which is
For
kind of
sure. Well, so it's kind of like two different disciplines. There's the catalog and the library music that just kind of gets plastered everywhere or licensed. And then there's, what I focus my creative time on, which is, scoring to picture for films and scripted TV shows, being part of that storytelling, piece and, sitting there looking at the screen and, writing to it. Like that's what I love. And that's why I got into this whole thing
yeah.
anyway. You know, the other hand sort of supports, it's like uh, it's kind of like a fluid thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything supports everything. It's like when I sign on to do a movie now, it's like I have a team behind me and I can also like, hey, if you need music for that, the background in the diner, it's like just use our library. You don't need to like go license it somewhere else. So it helps on both sides.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure as the years have rolled by, you develop those relationships, it gets easier and easier. I
Yeah,
know in
yes and
some ways.
no. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, yes and no. I mean, nothing is ever easy. And the one thing about this that I always tell like young, up and coming composers or whatnot is like, of course you have to be, you know, great at what you do and have your own perspective and have your thing and be great at composing. But like, honestly, the other 50% of it is like, you have to constantly hustle and you have to constantly reach out to people and you have to constantly make yourself available and throw stuff out into the universe because you just don't know what's going to come back. It's like you can't expect to go up for one job and get it. I mean, of course that can happen, but
Sure.
you got to put yourself up for 10 jobs to hopefully
Yeah,
get
it's
one.
kind of a numbers game in some ways.
100%. And these days, and I think this is across the board for most industries, I can't just score one show at a time. I got to do like 15 to 20 things at once to be able to like, you know, put food on the table.
That's right.
It's really crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
scoring one show is probably not enough to make a living on.
No, I mean, sure, if you're Hans Zimmer, maybe, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, but that's kind of, yeah, that's kind of how I sort of, the truncated version of how I kind of got to this spot, um, and yeah, there's like a whole new phase now. I'm just trying to kind of be forward thinking with,
Well,
all,
yeah, you constantly have to be, attempting to either improve or learn something new. You have to adapt and evolve.
yeah,
You get left behind.
yeah, no, for sure. It's a tough thing because everything's just changing all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Is there a show or a movie that you've scored that's kind of, that means a little extra to you? Is there one that you really, really?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, because each of them are so, so different. The cool thing about getting to score stuff is, you know, sometimes you get a job just blindly based on like a submission that your agent does, or you write something, but most of the time it's through relationships or people you've previously worked with. So, like with my friends, I never know what kind of movie they're going to go direct or produce, and
Right.
it's always different. But I would say, thus far, like some of the big, kind of turning points for me were, The Good Night, obviously, because that was my first real, feature.
Yeah.
Uh, this show called Black Summer that was
I
on
love Black Summer.
Netflix,
Yeah.
which was just so awesome. John Himes is
I didn't know it when I was watching it, but the music really helps with that show.
well, and it's very super, super subtle, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which worked perfect for that. But that a show like The Fosters, which was
Oh,
on,
Foster's a really good show too. Yeah, I
ABC
didn't realize
Family.
that you scored that one. Yeah, a lot of good music in that show.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. I think I did like maybe around 100 episodes.
Oh
I didn't do
wow.
the last
Yeah.
like season or so, but that show, this movie called The Art of Getting By, which was
Yeah.
like a cool indie, or it was a Fox Searchlight movie, but it had a good Sundance run. And I don't know, there's so many, they all mean so much because that's the thing, you put so much time, like as a consumer of entertainment, which we
Right.
all are, you watch these shows and you have your opinion and then you move on. And there's so much now. It's like, it's not disposable, but you burn through it so fast and you forget unless you're like in the trenches. Like,
Right.
you put months and months of time and creative energy into these things. And it's like, so they always mean something,
That's right.
no matter what happens to them, you know what I mean? And to me these days, I'm just like, that's why I really like to focus my creative time on the things that I'm passionate about, because you can't really like try to like pick things that you think are going to be successful, or, because
Right.
I don't even know what that means anymore, really. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and half the time you're wrong. You might
No,
think
I'm
something's
always
going to
wrong.
go and it doesn't go, and then something you'd say, well, there's no way that makes it, and then it takes off.
Yeah, it's weird. And yeah, and there's just never, when you're younger, you're kind of like, oh, this is going to be the one, or there's no such thing. It's like everything is a stepping stone to the next thing. And
Yeah.
I think you really just have to enjoy, the journey and like what you're doing, because yeah, it's
Do you ever play live music anymore?
not a ton as far as like, I'll jam out with some friends and
Yeah.
whatnot, but like I'm actually just started scoring this movie yesterday, and it's way more of like a band type score. So I'm playing, drums, guitar, bass on pretty much everything, which is fun.
What do you when you sit down to when they give you something that you don't already have music for, so you have to come up with the music. What's that process like? Are you just looking at what the movie's about and kind of, what they're looking for? Or how do you come up with something?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of creative conversations that happen
Yeah.
with, you, the director or producers or whomever, beforehand. And, you kind of watch the movie, and basically once the movie's locked or a show is locked, you'll sit down and you'll spot it. And which means you'll watch down the episode or the film with the, producers, filmmaker,
Yeah.
what have you. And kind of identify the spots that could use some music. And half the time, the editor will have put in some just random piece of what they call temp music, which is just like rough idea of like
Yeah.
emotion or whatever. And then
Oh, that
sometimes
probably helps though.
it can help, but it can also hinder and kind of, put you in a weird box. It's
Well,
nice
I
when
guess
you,
that's true if you're trying to create, but then you're listening to something else, then it's gonna kind of come into that a little bit, and
yeah,
that
but
can be good or
again,
bad.
Yeah, but again, if they like love it, it's like, okay, it's a good roadmap. I mean, I
Right.
don't personally, the one thing I've never been good at, which is probably a good thing, I'm not good at like doing sound alikes or ripping things off. I can take the essence of something like a feeling, an emotion,
Yeah.
instrumentation or whatever. But yeah, I always want to, try to do my own thing as much as possible. That's the whole point of making art, or,
Well, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to make it your own,
Yeah.
in some way.
So yeah, once you spot it, then, definitely got to kind of like sit down and, try to flesh out some themes. I mean, everybody works different. Like John Himes, who created Black Summer,
Yeah.
he works in this like amazing way, which I didn't even know was possible, because I always sit down and I'm like scoring to picture,
Right.
and because you want to hit certain beats in a conversation or
Yeah.
picture changes or whatever. But a lot of times with him, and I'm actually hopefully going to be working with him on his next film, we talk about the movie before he even shoots it, and I'll read the scripts and we'll pass ideas back and forth. And a lot of times I'll just sit down with no picture and start writing, and write these 2 to 4 minute themes or pieces,
Yeah.
and to kind of like figure out what it's going to be. And a lot of times with the back and forth we do, by the time he goes to edit, he's using all of this music that I've created, and most of it works pretty well. And he'll kind of come back, and then I'll kind of take it from there and start to rework some of those pieces. Or it's fun. It's kind of freeing to just make music, obviously. Uh,
Well, right. Yeah, it sounds to me like it's more complicated than I would have thought, because there's got to be some back and
yeah.
forth, and it probably takes a little time.
Well, yeah, you never ever ever. I mean, sometimes, like probably a couple times a year, you'll write something and you'll send it to the client or to whoever, and they'll be like, "This is it. This is amazing." Most of the time, I mean, it is a collaborative sport, and you send something, they give their feedback, you tweak it, you go back and forth, and so, you know, you can you can learn how to compose and all this stuff, in college or whatever, but scoring to picture and being able to revise based on specific notes, because, a lot of people don't speak music, and they'll be like, we want it to sound more red. And you have to like know what that means in context to what you're doing. And so for me at least, that was like, you got to learn that by doing it and like having real world experience, I think, because there's a lot of people can't do that, that I find.
Well,
So
yeah, yeah, that's probably the hard part, is
it
the
is, yeah.
adjustments.
Well, and also not being like super precious about stuff. It's like when
Right.
you create something, once it leaves your studio, it's like it's not yours anymore.
That's right.
Essentially, you know what I mean? You have to kind of disconnect, because like if you start getting defensive and you're like, well, no, this is what it's you're gonna get in
Well, you're not
trouble.
going to sell much.
No, you're gonna get into trouble big time. Uh,
My stepson's a musician, and uh he can play about any instrument. He's one of those,
oh, wow.
if you play it first, he can copy it.
Yeah.
He can read
Wow.
music. He was in band in high school and stuff. He can read music, but most of his stuff he does by ear. But I always thought it was fascinating the way he layers music. So he'll play a piano, and then play a guitar, and then he does each part and then
Yeah,
puts it together. Um, I never would have. That's a lot different than it was back in the day, where you had to go get other people to play the
sure,
music at the same
sure.
time as you. Technology's come so far. Has that made it easier, or is it harder in some ways?
It's kind of a double-edged sword, because
Yeah.
now these days it's like when you're submitting like a first pass of a demo for a film or something,
Yeah.
it can't sound like a demo. It needs to sound like a fully fleshed out,
Right.
finished piece, and like you've already recorded the orchestra. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, have you seen these videos of like John Williams and Steven Spielberg at the piano, like watching clips from E.T., and he's like, check out this theme, and it's just like, oh my God, that's amazing, but like it's on piano. Like that does not fly anymore with the technology. Like you got to hand in stuff like that's like you're like, I'm done basically. Hopefully they'll let me, put live strings over it, or hopefully we
Right.
can, get a full band in, because obviously anything organic is still, at least to me, I think, just the best. I mean, you feel it, the imperfections of, humans making music, rather than, everything being samples. And loops and whatnot,
Well, that's right.
unless it's that kind of score. But yeah, I don't know. There's something that I just always try to put as many people on stuff as
Well,
possible.
yeah, because I could totally see the advantage with that. Now, if you're, if you're don't have access to other musicians and stuff,
Yeah.
and you can do it, then okay, I totally get that. And some of it sounds amazing. You
Yeah.
couldn't like especially a non-musician like me, you can't tell
Oh yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
samples are so amazing now. We have some guys that write for the library that like some of the stuff they do in the box with orchestral samples is like insane. Like you cannot tell. Like you would be very hard pressed for somebody to be like, no, that's not real. It's crazy.
what's it like sitting down and watching, something that you've created the music for?
Um, it's I don't know. It's weird for me. I do love like going to a screening or like if it gets
Yeah.
into a film festival and like you see it that one time, but I don't often go back and watch stuff. I probably should. I don't know. Maybe when my kids
Well,
are a bit
yeah, some
older.
people are, like with me with the podcast, I listen or watch to every episode, but it's mostly because I'm trying to get better. That's kind of, I'm
Sure.
listening for things
And
I
it's,
can
I mean,
improve.
it's smart too, because I mean, I do like watching the finished mix and the
Yeah.
thing, but rarely after that do I go back. I'm kind of
So you
always
go
trying
back.
to
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I feel like with creativity, it's like in you, and once you get it out, you're like moved on to the next piece or the
I know
next.
I've always found that fascinating with creative people. My wife's like that. She's an artist, and it's you're so involved. Like this piece you're working on is everything until it's not.
Yeah,
When you're
yeah,
done, you just move on. And I always found that fascinating. The things that I'm passionate about, I've really been passionate about my entire life.
yeah,
I don't really go from one project to the next. I just, I like what I like and I don't like what I don't like. If that
sure.
makes any sense.
No, for sure. I
But
mean,
creative people seem like you have that ability to once it's finished to move on.
yeah, I guess because it's like a PCU is out there and,
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know, but I do like, sometimes I'll be on Spotify or something will come up or I'll see something on TV and it's super fun to like, you know, kind of get back in that headspace. But
You ever sit down and watch something or go to a movie and forget that you've done work on it? Be like,
yeah,
hey, that sounds familiar.
no. I mean, sometimes I'll watch something and be like, oh, wait, is that one of our cues, like the catalog or something? That definitely happens. But or I'll like be looking at the guide and be like, oh wow, that we do that and
Well, I
different shit.
saw your company did some work on American Horror Story.
Oh yeah, way
Some of
back
that
when.
music, it can definitely influence what you're feeling when you're watching it.
Yeah, I mean that show was composed. God, I'm forgetting who the composer was. He was so awesome. But we just, like Gramoscope just like licensed a couple
Yeah, yeah.
pieces, for different episodes. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of segued for me now, just looking at the future, just on the entrepreneur like business side of things with Gramoscope, I've realized, over the years, we've just been getting so many requests from, content creators,
Yeah.
podcasters, freelancers, like how can we have access to this music royalty free? And because right now, like the whole like creator economy is so massive, and we see like, traditional like network TV shows, there's kind of less and less. It's more streamers. It's more like, my kids just watch like YouTube most of the
That's
time.
that's what mine watch and my grandkids too. That's they
Yeah,
started
so
young.
in my head, I'm like, this is where things are headed. To me, and all these people kept asking, so we started a new company called Viral Noise.
Yeah, yeah.
It is a royalty-free music subscription service for digital creators, and basically, we're taking all of this music that's been in all your favorite TV shows, from Wicked Tuna to The Real Housewives to Vanderpump Rules, and making it available on Viral Noise royalty free for creators. So you can use this, music that's already been like battle tested in like real Hollywood productions
Love that.
in your content for like little to no money. It's
Yeah,
very
I love
expensive.
that, and that's definitely a that was a hole that needed to be filled. You know that we definitely needed that. I mean, even with our podcast, it took some time to find some music to use it for our
Oh
opening
wow.
that was wasn't licensed to somebody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So um, this service would have been perfect for us.
Yeah, I mean, we're not the first to the party, of course, but I don't see it as like a super oversaturated space like the traditional like Gramoscope music library is in for like, traditional TV and film and stuff. I feel like that is, super, super crowded, obviously, but yeah, it just
How
makes
does that
sense.
work? So is it music that you or your company has created, and that's why it's available, even if it's been used in a TV show?
Yeah, because we commission that music to
Yeah.
be written and pay for it. And, that basically gives us ownership over the copyright and the publishing so that we're able to do non-exclusive licenses to all these different TV shows and films. And in turn, we can then license it royalty free if we choose
Yeah.
through viral noise, you know?
I think you could do really well just put music to podcasts because there's so
I
many
mean,
out there and nobody has the music that they're happy with.
yeah, I mean, we actually do, yeah, we do license to podcasts all the time. We create, custom
Yep.
tracks for, opening themes and whatnot for podcasts. And yeah, I mean, just kind of trying to, just keep kind of building upon this whole thing because,
I love the fact that you started
painless.
out you're the typical musician. You wanted to be in a band, so
Oh
you
yeah.
did that. But then you found your real passion was really on the composing side, and you keep creating tools to kind of enhance what you're doing. I think that's awesome. It's very
Oh,
creative.
thanks. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, yeah, I don't know. I love what I do and it's, you know, music is supposed to be fun and awesome. And yeah.
Do you go to a lot of concerts, or do you follow some bands?
I do. I mean, lately I've gone to a lot of concerts. I have a couple daughters um, that are, into everything from Olivia
Are they
Rodrigo.
teenagers?
I got a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Oh, okay. You're
I
all
got
over the
I got a
place.
big
Yeah, yeah,
spread. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so been taking them to a lot of concerts. But yeah, I mean, I go to different things without them, which is very nice to go to see something that I really like.
Yeah,
Uh,
I told you my wife's with Live Nation, so we tend to go to quite a few
yeah. Oh, that's
shows.
awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
I'm sure, because yeah, I mean everything is Live Nation, right?
Well,
Pretty
for
much.
the majority, yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah.
that's kind of what my wife does. She's the global compliance person, so she's dealing with all the consent degrees,
Oh wow.
you know, making sure that they're not operating as too much of a monopoly, that type of stuff. So
Oh,
it
interesting.
yeah, it sounds a little bit interesting, but just from constantly listening to her, in her office, it's not interesting, but she
No.
loves it.
That's funny.
You can't beat the perks though.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that if
I
you
mean, who
love
doesn't?
music,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
uh that's not
Yeah.
too
Who
bad.
doesn't? Who doesn't
And
love?
that's kind of we don't take a lot of like the long vacations, but we take a lot of the 3 or 4 day, go to a city, see a
Yeah.
concert, and kind of build a little trip around that. We do that all the time.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the
Oh,
best.
that's yeah, that's
We
really
just
cool.
got back from New York, you were born in New York, weren't you?
No, Santa Monica,
Oh, Santa
California.
Monica. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, you're on the opposite
But
end.
I lived in New York for a couple
Oh,
years.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought I saw New York somewhere there,
Yeah.
but we saw Hugh Jackman at Radio
Oh,
City,
fun.
and he was just singing, some some other people's music, but mostly his, show
Yeah.
type of stuff, and it was pretty great.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
Yeah, it was pretty great. He brought Richard Marx out. I hadn't seen
Oh,
him
no
in
way.
forever,
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, hey, pretty
Yeah.
good.
Crazy. Wow. Fun.
What instruments besides drum and guitar do you play?
I mean, piano, I would say, is my
Yeah.
main instrument. I mean, especially with composing, that's kind of where I start with everything, is really, try to sit down at the piano and write a
Yeah.
piece. Like literally before we got on, I was writing a piece that's ultimately going to be played on guitar, but I started with piano just to kind of like flesh out the different chords.
Do you carry a notebook or something with you if something pops in your head?
I mean, luckily we all have phones,
That's
so
right. You use
voice
the note thing.
memos or
Yeah.
or just like voice memos or like my calendar. I always put notes in there. So
I always laugh. There's a Seinfeld episode where he wakes up in the middle of the night and he's got this amazing joke and he writes it down. And then the whole episode is him trying to figure out what he wrote. He can't read his writing because he's half asleep. And then at the end of the episode, he's like, "Oh, that's not funny."
oh my gosh, that's awesome. I know a lot of times in the middle of the night, if you don't get yourself up, like if something comes into your head, no matter what it is, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna remember that. The more you never remember
Never
it.
do. I swear I've had some of my best ideas in the middle of the night, but by morning it's gone.
Yeah, you have to.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
should
isn't
have
that
wrote
that
that
like
then.
famous story? I could be totally misquoting, but that famous story of Keith Richards and the riff for Satisfaction, like he literally like in the middle of the night woke
Oh,
up.
really?
I don't know. I could be wrong, but I'm sure I'll be fact checked on the internet.
Somebody
It,
will be
it
like,
was
no.
something to that. Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever have a consideration to try like acting or anything?
I mean, I early on a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because it's just like that is not just like not my thing.
Acting, people think acting's easy. It's
It is.
not.
Oh, not at all. It's
Yeah, it's
God.
a
It is
hard
not.
profession.
Yeah, I mean, I dabbled a little bit. I was in like a couple little things and
Yeah.
went on some auditions, but yeah, quickly realized that it's just like not. Yeah, I could definitely get into it because there was a part of it that it's like learning an instrument. Like it's
Sure.
really, it was cool. It's definitely a really cool skill. But yeah, it just wasn't me. I just music is my whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's terrific when someone has found their thing.
Yeah,
Because most of us spend most of our life, trying to figure out what our thing is. I came to podcasting late, uh, but I can't imagine doing anything else now.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I spent most of my life running call centers and hated every minute of
Oh no.
it.
Oh
I
gosh.
didn't hate the people. Well, the people were great, but just
Yeah,
the grind of it. Yeah, I was like, I should have done this a long time ago.
yeah. The podcasting space has just exploded. It's
Well, I
crazy.
always say, best thing about podcasting is anybody can do it. The worst thing about podcasting is anybody can do
Yeah. Seriously, that's funny.
Oh shoot!
Sure.
I saw that you spend a lot of time at Sundance or have been there several times.
Yeah.
I got to go. We went for 2020,
Uh-huh.
and I think the like a
How
couple
was
of days
that?
after we got back, they shut
Yes.
everything down.
Yeah, it was COVID. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I loved it. Son, it's
Yeah.
awesome. If you've never been, you should definitely go.
Yeah.
But it's so much smaller than what I was expecting. It's just a little space, like a block
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, no, definitely. Apparently they're moving it
Oh,
because
really?
yeah, I think this is maybe the last year that it's in Utah and God, where are they? I'm forgetting
Hadn't it always been in Utah?
forever, yeah, in Park City.
Well, how
But
come they're
yeah,
moving?
I don't know, maybe for what you're talking about where
Oh,
it
yeah, just
just
not enough
has gotten,
space,
I mean, it is so big. It's such a big
and it's
festival.
really cold.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to, snowboard or ski or whatnot,
Right.
but I actually learned how to ski as a kid there. So,
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
Park City's pretty close to Los Angeles,
And it's beautiful
couple
too.
hour flight, yeah. But yeah, in my early days, I spent many years there, which was just so fun because, back when I started, like independent films
Yeah.
were a little bit different than they are now. Like people actually like went to the movies and cared about stories rather than like franchises. There's just less and less of that. Of course, like every year it seems like at the Academy Awards, there's always like one maybe independent film that like made it through. But back when I went, it's like these big studios would like buy these films like the night of the screening, and like it was just a really exciting
Oh, that
thing.
would be exciting.
Yeah, to kind of be around or be a part of a
Yeah,
film
you
that kind of
actually had people
sold.
throwing money around that'd
Yeah,
be
right.
yeah. That wouldn't be too bad. I wanted to ask you about the video game stuff because I know you've scored for like NBA and some wrestling games too.
Yeah, we've been working with 2K Sports for God, I mean,
Yeah.
over a decade, doing all the NBA 2K stuff and now the WWE stuff, and we definitely supply them with a ton of music, and
Are
it's
you doing like intro music or is it just background
no,
music?
yeah, it's more like background stuff. It's not, we're not scoring to picture.
Yeah.
Hopefully at some point we will, but they end up needing so much music for
Yeah.
these video games that we just, we'll pull together, different eras of stuff from our catalog or different specific types of things. Sometimes we've composed a few times where like we've made like some sideline like marching band tracks that can loop in the game, and so it's a super different it's different
I know,
from
and video games they're so popular
yeah
and they just keep getting more and more detailed.
yeah
But yeah,
it's
so
pretty
I would
awesome.
imagine that they would want the best music that they can put in there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, but if you had to just license music, get kind of pricey.
Yeah, especially like when they're talking about when they because they do license like some big songs and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
that stuff is not cheap.
No, there's no way. Yeah.
It's-
Well, Alec, thank you for taking a little bit of time. I think
oh
what you
yeah.
do is so fascinating. Um, it's different composing, I think, for TV and movies than just making music out there, even though you're still
Oh
just
yeah.
making music.
Well,
You know?
yeah, it is completely different. I mean, in terms of like, if you sit down and you write a piece of music, you're kind of like, doing your thing, or if
Sure.
you're making an album or whatnot. But when you're scoring to picture, like you're working inside of a box a little bit, and there's parameters and there's things that the director or the producers are like, I want it to sound like this and feel like this, and don't use this instrument. So there's like rules. I don't know. I like it because it's almost like a challenge each time, because you don't, anytime you start anything new, it's like you always doubt yourself, or I do at least, even
Do
though
too. Yeah.
even though you've done it like 1,000 times,
I
I'm like,
always have that.
oh,
I'm always nervous before I get on camera, but as soon as I'm on camera, I'm fine.
yeah.
It's like nervous energy ahead of time.
No, for sure. So it always works out, but yeah, so it is a different kind of skill set. But yeah, I love doing
Yeah, that's awesome. I think your job sounds as good as what my wife does. I'm jealous of both of
it.
them. Although not jealous of, I would not want to do what she actually does.
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
glad she enjoys it, but yeah,
Yeah.
whoa, no,
Hopefully
thank you.
she's not listening.
That's right. That's right. No, no, that's what she always she takes the line that my mom and dad still take. It'll be like, we talk to you every day. Why do we need to listen?
Yeah. Yeah,
I was like, oh, I
exactly.
can't argue with that.
Oh, I feel you.
So,
Nice.
Alec, before I let you go,
Yeah.
run through like if someone's interested in viral noise, where they
Yeah.
go to find that, and maybe your social media
Yeah,
handle.
so yeah, viral noise, it's spelled as it sounds, all one word, viralnoise.com. Yeah, viralnoise.com. And then obviously, you can find us on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. And yeah, and also, Gramoscope Music as well.
Yeah,
Just,
you're pretty busy.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, kind of have a lot of plates spinning, but I feel like that's, just kind of who I am. And it's also kind of what you have to do, I
Yeah.
think.
Do
You
you
know,
have do you do most of your work at like a home studio or do you have to drive to somewhere to do your work?
No, I have like like offices, studios, actually really close to my house, but we kind of like built out this place. I have a studio which I'm in right now, and then there's studio next to me. There's a live room with like drums and amps and pianos, and
Awesome.
then there's a bunch of office space for the other guys that
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it's great. I like leaving the house.
I do
You know?
too. We started. We were just in a bedroom,
Yeah.
and we got a building to put our studio in, but it's literally like a 2 minute drive from the house.
Mine's four.
Yeah, but that's all I need, and it might be
No,
four.
totally.
Because it gives you that minute to kind of switch gears. Okay, I'm going into work.
Yeah, I need that personally,
I do
and I
too.
have to. My house is like just crazy all the time. I have three kids, so it's
Oh
like
yeah, and they're yeah
there,
in those
there,
age ranges. Yeah,
there's
good
no
luck.
chill, and there's no. I mean, it was fun during COVID actually to like work from home and like eat lunch with the family and what. But it's tough to unless you like bolt that door closed and you're like, I have to work for 2 hours or whatever it is. It's
I
hard to go.
always admired my wife because she can go into the office and she works. She probably works more than she would work if she was at an actual office. She just works all
Yeah,
the time. Where with me, if I'm trying to work at home, I constantly distract myself.
yeah,
Oh, let me do this load of laundry real quick, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
something else, and then something else, and then I don't
Yeah.
get work done.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, certain people are like super, super, even more productive at home. But yeah, it's for me, I like to like take a shower,
That's right.
get my coffee, get in the car, go to work. It's a good.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I assumed that was just me, so it makes me feel a little better. That
No, I love it. And I love trying to like, have normal working hours. So
yes,
turn it off at the end of the day. And
yeah. Take a little break. Go to a
yeah.
concert.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Seriously.
hold on one second. Alec Puro, what a talented person. And I hope you enjoyed that because I wanted to have someone on that composes for TV and movies for a long time. I think it's really a fascinating field. And here came Alex. I was just thrilled to death to get to talk with him. If you're a creator and you need a little help on the music side, go check out viralnoise.com. You will not be disappointed. Alex, talented guy. Um, his music I'm going to read you a few of them, but it's been in everything. So his music or his company's music has been used in American Horror Story. So You Think You Can Dance, Glee, Real Housewives of Everywhere, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, The Americans, Wicked Tuna, I think he mentioned, Botched, Burn Notice, Jersey Shore, and even with comedian specials like Bobcat Goldthwait, Jay Moore, ton of stuff, video games, whatever you want, they've done it. And here's some more: Chicago Hope, NYPD Blue, uh, and we talked about The Good Night, and that's just scratching the surface. There's a ton. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us again this week. If I can get it out, really appreciate you being here. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. Really helps us out. It's free. Website's meistercon.com. You can find we're getting ready to hit episode 1000. That should happen in the next couple of weeks. You can find all of those on the website, audio and video versions, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.